I mean, it sounds good on the surface that this is a good project, it's all positive, we're gonna save, you know, we're gonna improve quality. Yeah, except if you don't have a quality issue, you don't have a conservation issue, and it's cheaper to build to maintain the lining up there. Why would you do it?
Right.
My name is Ted Hall, I'm a City of Ashland visitor. To be honest with you, my primary residence is Montana, but I'm an engineer. My grandkids go to school here, and I'm an engineer. So I have worked on projects like this channel lining project. So they're doing the right engineering job. Paul is having them do the right engineering job on Hersey, is to do the study, map the springs, give continuity to the springs across Hersey, then do the road job. Otherwise, it's throwing good money after that. But can you imagine the underground springs that are up? They dig a 9-foot hole up there.
Right.
Because you have to have that like I said, a structural fill. You can't just, put the pipe in the ground. You have to dig a big hole 3 or 4 feet below the pipe, 2 foot, and they don't even, maybe a 4-foot diameter pipe, and then 3 feet on top of that. So to do it right, can you imagine the underground springs you're going to cut across? I think that's going to dwarf the surface drainage, storm drainage issue. Now this situation is, TID doesn't really care because this stretch is not their responsibility. It's the City of Ashland. And why would the City of Ashland want to take on that additional responsibility? Because, sure, things happen, all those things they mentioned, but when you have an open canal, you can see it, you can get at it. I mean, I can't imagine from an engineering perspective why the City of Ashland want to take on that liability. Put in a pipe and remove it because of the storm water treatment and the underground springs mitigation, which they don't even know about until they do it. That $4 million could end up being 8, 9, 10 million.
That's what I thought.
What?
How much do you think it would cost?
You do not want to dig underground on a mountainside. I'm telling you, you do not want to do it.
There you go.
You know,
That's the
why would they do that? When you have a very pristine little thing with the water flowing and
Right.
you know, I mean, just concrete pipe from an engineering perspective is much better. I'm kind of digressing because it's the concrete pipe sections are designed to take load on them. The plastic pipe is not as good, and the life expectancy of it is kind of a vogue thing today. We'll do plastic because it's easy to move around. But the plastic pipe is not a structural section. It relies on, and that's why they have to dig such a big hole. When you go to plastic, it's up on your hillside, it's very invasive. Dig a big hole, you have to put structural fill material and compact it around the plastic pipe to make it then structural. So and that's the thing about it is, you don't know if they're doing a good job of compacting that material. I don't care what anybody says. You know, it's just because it's a foot by foot by foot process. You know, whereas when you take a structural section, a concrete section pipe, which you don't want to do either, but if let's say you set it in place, you're done for that whole segment. Anyway, whether it's plastic or concrete, you're going to have pipe joints. Tree roots on the hot weather are going to find those joints. They're going to get in there, and there's going to be blockage. I don't care what anybody says. That's like death in taxes. There's going to be blockage of those roots. Right. Not next year, 10 years, but within our life. See, that's what you guys should be concerned about. Within your lifetime, there's going to be a problem up there if they put it on the ground. That particular issue up there, from my perspective as an engineer, it's a maintenance issue. Where I say that there's a quarter of the 2 miles is caused. They say there's a conservation issue. That's where the problem is. The evaporation is not an issue. The water quality, that's a made-up thing. Remember, it's natural water coming out of the reservoir. It's natural water for the 6 miles up to our 2-mile segment. I could be wrong, but if they really want to get at the water quality, take a sample at the reservoir, take a sample at the end of the TID, and then take a sample at where it comes out of to the pump plant in Ashland. And if you compare those three, and you look at the qualitative concerns that they were talking about of
E.
coli and stuff, and you compare the three readings quantitatively, I would be very surprised if they differ that much. I mean, in terms of a percentage. And then why do you worry about it at all? It goes in the water treatment plant. It's going to be treated regardless. I mean, it'd be like saying, let's go up to Reeder Reservoir, that is the source of water from the city of Ashland. Let's check that. We don't like that natural reading either. Well, who cares? It's going into the water treatment plant, it's being treated. So what's going to happen to the stormwater runoff, which now, because you have that ribbon up there that intercepts all that water coming down, and since it's a continuous ribbon, it is a continuous interceptor of stormwater. Handling of stormwater is a big engineering evaluation into itself. You put that thing on a pipeline. Now all the stuff that's coming through your properties now that you don't even have to think about because it's been established, now somebody has to think about it. And they should, if that is a decision, if the council decides we're going to put this thing underground, which I can't imagine they would take on that liability. So when they're told, look, you're being told by the city, it's a liability as a canal. Well, irrigation districts, for them, putting things underground so you can't see it anymore is a higher liability. So do you want to take that on? This is the project I told you that you should be advocating. This is does not have to be done, first of all at once. They will argue because I had that conversation with Paula, that, to do it in segments costs more because you have to remobilize. This is a tiny project. The people are going to be here in town. But anyway, the first thing would do to do a segment, do that one stretch, 25% of it, where the leakage is occurring.
Right.
Remove the concrete and put reinforced concrete back. That has the least amount of invasiveness, and you purposely, you don't want to dig. You don't want to dig up the roots. You want to basically, and that's why the canal is a good application for transmission of water across that area. It's the least invasive thing. Probably you're going to have to do what they recommend on the channel alternative, is remove the concrete, and you have small, backhoes that can get in the channel, and they even say that thing, it's limited by small equipment. Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Remove the concrete and slip form a nice new reinforced concrete channel section in there and fix the majority of your conservation issue and do that right away. They don't even need an environmental document to do that. See, that's the thing, maintenance of, whereas now, if these other projects had exhaustive, because the money was federally funded, exhaustive, what you call preferred alternative. So you have to do an alternatives analysis and come up with a preferred alternative. Why is that a preferred alternative? And that's going to be there'll be a public hearing where you guys are all going to go speak. And why is putting a pipe a preferred alternative? And it just makes no sense. That's what you want to see. This group wants to see. Okay, glad to hear you're doing an environmental document. Boggles the mind you have a preferred alternative before you've done the environmental document.
Right.
Yep.
See, cart before horse. I mean,
Right.
there's a predetermined thing,
Right.
that we're going to do this, and you haven't done your environmental document. Ask them all these questions. Find out how they deal with subsurface spring water, storm water. That should be a project that precedes this project, if that's the case. And that's going to add a massive amount of money, because, uphill water, people downhill have the obligation to pass uphill water through their property. And so how are they going to do that? They're going to have to get easements for all you people to put drainage line. They're talking about, they said we'll probably run it to the various drainages, or put in percolation ponds, where you basically charge the groundwater with storm water. those are all good green thoughts, but they take engineering to figure them out. They cost money, and then in a huge 100-year storm, guess what happens to all those things? They get blown out. You know, I mean, that's why the liability is huge for the city to put this in place. My first thing, I went in there and I said, so Paul, why do we care? It's if you look at the water issue, it's it's a holistic overall system. And if you get some seepage out of the thing into the ground, it goes into the groundwater, it's still part of our water supply, you know? So why is it a big deal? But this is like a sledgehammer when a ball peen will work, you know? Let's just fix the part that's leaking. Should have not done that already over the years of maintenance. They should have a panel replacement program over the years. This year we're going to do it survey stations, right? This year we're going to remove this 1,000 feet from this, 500 feet from this station to this station, and have it a summer project for, kids, whatever, to dig a 8-9 foot trench, fill it. That'd be what a French drain is?
Yeah.
That's going to be the largest French drain in Oregon. and so that water that gets intercepted from up, they don't know where, you will not know where it's going to go. Right. But it's gravity, it's going to pop out someplace.
Yeah.
And they'll be forever chasing it. And the fact that this is called a pipe project, see?
Right.
Yeah.
That prejudges the preferred alternative when you haven't done environmental document. I mean, it's so backwards.